Steve Jobs, J.K. Rowling, Winston Churchill, all the three of them have or had reached the pinnacle of their callings. All of them are quite well known around the globe. There is a common thread that connects the three of them. Do you know what that is? Each of them had delivered an outstanding speech in renowned educational institutions of the world. Let's take Steve Jobs first. His commencement address at Stanford University is famously known as Connect the Dots speech. Steve Jobs spoke about how every person you meet, every event that you attend, every experience that you have becomes like a dot somewhere in your system. At the time of happening, it is totally inconsequential. But over a period of time, after several years, when they all get connected, these dots get connected somehow, most probably because you have done it consciously by networking them, that's when they leave an impact so profound in your life. Steve Jobs finished that speech, completed that speech with that iconic line, stay hungry, stay foolish, meaning that you should never lose touch with that child within you. Stay foolish. Now, J.K. Rowling, she spoke at Harvard University. She nailed it when she told the Harvard University students it is impossible to live without failing at something unless you might have been so cautious as to not have lived at all. She told the Harvard University undergrads to venture forth, but be prepared to lose before you start winning. And then finally, we have the inimitable Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was supposed to have spoken to Oxford University students. It is said that he climbed up onto the stage, walked up to the lectern, took off his signature bowler hat, pulled out the cigar from his mouth, and told the students, never give up, never give up, never ever give up. Having said these three lines, he walked off the stage to a standing ovation. Now, you know something? Myths become more powerful than facts. The never give up speech of Winston Churchill is just that, it's a myth. It just didn't happen. He didn't address any Oxford University student with that never give up speech. But he did speak at a very famous institution of England, the Harrow School, which was his alma mater, and he had delivered the valedictory address there, which means the students were about to pass out and would be joining the military because Britain was in the midst of the Second World War in 1941. And that speech is called the Never Given speech. What Churchill told these people who would just be joining the army is not to be cowed down by defeats or stumbling blocks, but to use these stumbling blocks as springboards to leap farther. That was Churchill's speech, another famous speech, a real speech, not a myth. So if you look at these three speeches, all the three of them are focused at youngsters. And if you had observed, each of them were focusing on two very important traits that needed to be cultivated by these youngsters. Steve Jobs, number one, network with people and experiences. Number two, keep raising the benchmark, aim high, stay hungry. J.K. Rowling, number three, take risks. Number four, failures are inevitable, learn from them and move on. Winston Churchill, number five, never give in, resilience. Number six, never give up, perseverance. So you see these six traits that these three people spoke about, like things like, aiming high, things like networking, things like taking risks, learning from failures, resilience, and perseverance. Now, these are meant for everybody actually. Everybody requires these traits irrespective of their chronological age. But it is particularly of interest to people, to youngsters in the age group of 16 to 30. The reason is if they cultivate these six traits within them in this age group, they will remain their lifelong friends till the end of their lives. So that is very important for these youngsters to cultivate these traits. But then, those who are listening to me now are not likely to be in that youngsters group. Most of you who are listening to me must be closer to my age group. And you all know that this is old wine in new bottle. And from your experience, you also know older the wine, more valuable it is, and old wine is more inspirational to taste. So you see, you may not find these things all that exciting, but surely it might remind you that these are important traits for you too. But I'm sure each one of you knows at least one person who's in that age group of 16 to 30 who's very close to you here. So why don't you share this with them and maybe they'll get kindled. See, Winston Churchill might be history, archaic history. But then Steve Jobs is a person, awe-inspiring person for everybody, especially the youngsters. And youngsters in the age group of 16 to 30, they must have grown up with Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. So they might get kindled if you share this with them. Many of them might have heard this speech and must have analyzed it also. Some may not have. So share it, and those some who have not yet have seen, heard these inspirational speeches or analyzed them, might feel kindled to have a look at it a second time or the first time, and maybe some of them might get inspired.